hours. Oh,
Just keep talking.
since I've had a can of dip, or since I've had a dip
Oh,
Right.
are you quitting again
again
Again.
for the third time or something like
100th
that?
time. Yeah.
Yeah, good for you, Dima.
Yep, it's miserable.
Do you want to, or are you being
Yes.
forced to?
No. This was all me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Say, because when you quit last time, it was because you wanted to, and I thought it was going to be a for sure thing, and then you were like, eh.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
good
me.
for you. So
Very proud
you
of
guys
you.
know how my day is going. How is your day going?
Sucks.
I mean,
Nice.
it's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm ready for this work week to be over with. I'll tell you that much.
Dude, I'm
Yes.
so ready.
My job is driving me up the freaking wall.
Yeah.
And it's weird because things are going good when it comes to like my actual job, like what I do day to day. But
Right.
we have quality changes happening, and these new people are coming in. They don't know what we do. So they're just like shutting down production so they can figure out their job. And it's like, what the fuck? Yeah, I don't know.
Ow.
It's stupid. I don't know. It's got like, dude, you know how Justin is. Justin's literally just like, yeah, he's irate every day.
I bet.
But today is Thursday, and it's the first day that we've worked in my department. Like we've just been sitting around waiting for quality all week. Stupid.
Jesus.
So, anyways, that's my life right now.
Yeah. No, that sucks.
Yeah. Well, what can you do? Yeah, I skipped the intro. Anyone who's tuning into this or watching this later, we had a little rough start to the show. It is starting 30 minutes late. Actually, a day and 30 minutes late, if we're going to be technical here.
Yes.
Another franchise hump day on a Thursday. But I'm excited because we are wrapping up this epic Lord of the Rings trilogy with Return of the King.
Yes.
I got to do some stuff. If Matthew wants to start us off, give us your thoughts. I guess give us your rating and thoughts on the movie. And let's go around the horn.
I'm going to give Return of the King a 5. I mean, it was a good, like culmination of like the trilogy. We've seen everything, film wise. If you've never read the books, we've seen, everything get to this point. This is like, the ultimate battle for good and evil in Middle Earth. At least that we would have seen so far, because I mean, this was released in 2003, I think.
Yeah. They're literally like 2001, 2002, 2003.
Yeah. So like crazy. Culmination of good versus evil, on a grand scale. So, I mean, it closes out a lot of chapters, it ties up a lot of loose ends. I mean, there are some that are left open, but it's kind of like, it is what it is. But I mean, phenomenal story. It will obviously get into.
Yeah. All right, Dima.
I'll give it a 4.5.
What did you give Fellowship?
He started with 3 and 3.5, and then he changed it to a 4.
Yes.
Okay. So, okay. And then what'd you give Two Towers, a 5?
5.
Okay. All right. Cool.
So that's why I'm giving this one a 4.5. I don't think it's quite on the same level as Two Towers, but
yeah,
I did think it's a great way to end this trilogy. So yeah.
I actually give it 3.5. And I don't think I thought that going into it, but watching it this time around, because it's been a couple years since I've watched these movies,
Right.
It's definitely my least favorite of the trilogy. I thought it was Fellowship of the Ring, but I have totally changed my mind about that.
Is it because he's mean to Sam? That's the whole reason.
No, I don't know. I know these are based off books, so it's kind of an almost unnecessary comment on these films. But if I were going into this raw, and maybe Dima can give his input on this, I felt like this third movie was just very predictable.
I would agree with that in a sense that, you know, we've been building up to this, right?
Yeah.
You know, so like we know where everyone's story is going, and there's, you know, only so much that they can do at that point. So I mean, I would agree with you. It is a tad predictable.
And it's honestly a gripe with, I guess, just the story, because
Right.
I like when something happens that you almost would hope wouldn't. For example, if Aragorn died, I'd be like, no, and then he doesn't become the king. I'd be like, no.
Okay. Did you expect Denethor to try and burn himself and Faramir alive? You know, did you expect that?
To be honest with you, and I have watched these before, but I really think I would have expected something on that level. That dude literally just gives me,
for how schwacky he is.
I won't say suicidal vibes, but he gives me like
it's crazy.
He wants to just escape what's going on. Like, he doesn't seem like he wants to be there. He doesn't agree with anything that's going on. He literally wants to deny that his son is not alive. It's just like, I don't know. It's like the dude doesn't. He doesn't like reality. So if you don't like reality, usually you want to escape it, and you can either do drugs or you can kill yourself.
Maybe his reality is super warped. You know, maybe he just kind of snapped there. You know, when they brought Faramir back, I don't know, because you look at him and he's like so hateful towards Faramir, right? And so like all of a sudden he's like, oh, my son, you know. But you both watched the extended editions, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. So
Dima, did you watch it all the way through? That's what Matt told you to do.
I did.
All
right, cool. So
over
like
a period of 5 days.
I guess I want to start
took off work for it
with with my biggest gripe of the film.
Ooh, okay.
Is literally is pretty much the opening sequence. So when Aragorn, Theoden, Gandalf, Gimli, Legolas, when they go to Isengard, and it's been invaded by the Ents. So like that sequence did not happen in the books, right? So like at the end of Return of the King in the books, the ring gets destroyed, and Frodo, Sam, Merry, and Pippin, they go back to the Shire, and Saruman and Grima Wormtongue have actually taken a contingent of Uruk-hai to the Shire, and they actually take over the Shire.
Oh.
And it's them, and it's Frodo and the hobbits and them that actually kill Saruman and Grima Wormtongue in the books.
That would have been cool to see.
So
why did we change that? Why?
I don't know. That's just like how, and even in the theatrical version, so like the one that was released in theaters, we don't get that sequence at all. There's no tie-up of Saruman's story in the theatrical release. You have to watch the extended editions to see that.
Well, while we're on this part of the movie, one of my first gripes is Saruman's death is stupid.
Yeah.
I thought it was really stupid. It's almost like a cartoon, like, ooh, dunk. And then you're caught in the wheel and it just...
Right, just lands right on the wheel.
Yeah. Like,
when he's turning down, his feet happen to just stay perfectly up. And it's like, that's not how any of that works. That's not how people act when they die. Like,
it reminded me of... I would say it reminded me of Wizard of Oz when the Wicked Witch has the fucking house land on her. And
her legs curl up.
But he was such a like powerful threat throughout this.
Right, and for him to just be stabbed in the back is like
okay.
Now, granted, he did get his staff broken, right? And that's like an avenue for their power, right? They can do a little bit of magic and whatnot without their stabs, but it's very uncontrolled magic, right? And like the lore of Lord of the Rings, right?
Right.
So like losing that is definitely a big hit, but Saruman's not powerless at that point. But yeah, just for like Green Wormtongue just to get back and like just, I think he stabs in the back like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
There's actually a fun little fact about that. When they were filming that, Peter Jackson walks up to Christopher Lee and he's like, no, like when he stabs you in the back, he's like, I want you to make this like a scream, right? He's like, I want you to like yelp out. And Sir Christopher Lee is like, have you ever stabbed someone? And Peter Jackson's like, no. And he's like, well, I have, and that's not how they set people sound when they get stabbed in the back. And Peter Jackson's like, all right, I'll just let you, because like Sir Christopher Lee was like a spy, like in like one of the world wars, and like he has legitimately killed people. He's like a hero, right, of like England and all that. It's the reason why he's Sir Christopher Lee, like he's a knight. But like just that, he's like, that's not how people sound when you stab him in the back. And like there's a interview where Peter Jackson's just like, well, he clearly knows what he's talking about, so I just left it alone.
Yeah. This actually goes into another gripe I have, and we haven't talked about Legolas a lot, other than Dima didn't know is Orlando Bloom. But there's a scene where he's like on the roof, I think with Aragorn, and he's doing that thing where like, he can sense there's trouble or whatever.
Yeah, they're outside of the Golden Hall at Edoras, and he's like a red sun rises, like blood has been spilt this night or some stupid shit like that. And he turns and he's like, he's here. You talking about that?
Yeah, prior to that, he's like up there by himself, and Aragorn like comes out and he's just staring, and he says something stirs in the east. Yeah. And then Aragorn looks to the east, and it's just fucking Mordor. Like you just see fucking hell on earth, and it's like, you think
something's always stirring over there, man.
your spider senses are tingling. Like what the fuck, dude? I was just like, that was completely unnecessary dialogue.
I agree.
Now, if you couldn't see fucking Mordor,
the hell on earth the hell on Middle Earth that is Mordor.
Yeah, I mean, he's like staring at it like something stirs in the east. It's like, okay. So yeah, another stupid nitpick, but I just thought it was really unnecessary dialogue. I like how they made Pippin and Merry seem more important in this movie.
Yeah.
They're not just like the class clowns or the comic relief. Like the thing with Pippin and the crystal ball, I thought was really badass.
Yeah.
And
okay, so hang on. We're just
a
crystal ball. It's a palantir, it's a seeing stone.
It's a crystal ball.
We're not gonna call it a crystal ball. We're not telling fortunes. Just get that. I'm just gonna stop you right there.
Kyle and Dima here. We represent the normal movie-going folks. But I like emphasizing them as characters farther than just being the comic relief. Yes. I appreciated that in this movie. I mean, hell, you see freaking both of them in combat. Like Mary's literally in the freaking shit with a sword, stabbing orcs and shit. It's like, what? So that was cool.
Yeah, and like the war, he's like, ducking sword strikes and having guys like even Pippin like is in the thick of it in Minas Tirith, right?
Yeah.
Gandalf and Pippin come like frontwards into the Witch King, right? Like that's a big deal. Like that,
Yeah.
Like I would definitely agree. Like they definitely are not comedic relief characters at this point. And like the gravity of it is really set when, Pippin messes with the Palantir, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like they're just like, Sauron thinks you have the ring, right? And it's like they have to separate. Gandalf takes him, and Pippin's like, how far? Like, where are we going? And he's like, Minas Tirith. And he's like, how far is it? And he's like, 3 days ride as the Nazgul flies. And he's like, and you better hope we don't have one of those on our tail. And it's just like truly like, you're in danger, big dog. And there's that scene when they get to Minas Tirith, and Pippin's like, "Oh, Minas Tirith," and he's like, "So where are we off to next?" And Gandalf's like, "Oh, there's too late for that. Like, there's no leaving the city."
Yeah.
You know? And so it's just, I definitely do like the change in tone for them from being like a comedic relief character to like a very serious character.
Would you mind educating us on what's it called? A Palantir?
A Palantir.
Palantir.
So in the lore of Middle Earth, they're called Seeing Stones. So like in the Fellowship of the Ring, that like watchtower, like ruin of a castle that they're on, when the Nazgul come and the Witch King stabs Frodo when he puts the ring on, that's where one of the Palantir was kept. And they're for like communication. They're like elvish artifacts, and they're for like communicating over vast distances.
Okay.
And so they're dangerous because like you can be like looking into one, and they can like, you know, show you like glimpses of the future and, you know, things like that. But whatever you're doing with that, if somebody else has a Palantir, they can see what you're doing. So they're dangerous to just, they're not just like, you know, you're not just going to walk down, you know, on a little jaunt down the road to Rivendell and you're going to find a Palantir. It just doesn't work like that. And like there is a part where Gandalf is like, they're not all like in the Fellowship of the Ring. When Saruman shows him that Palantir, he's just like, they're too dangerous to use. Like they're not all accounted for. Like we don't know where they all are, so we don't know who's watching.
Right.
And he puts that cloth back on it, and he sees like the eye, you know, so he knows like he kind of figures it out then in the Fellowship of the Ring that Saruman's working with Sauron. But they're I can't remember how many of them there are exactly. Let me see.
While you're looking that up, so that could be or is the direct way that Sauron can have influence on like Saruman, like you know, he's looking into it and Sauron can communicate or influence him through it. Is that how it works?
So there are 8, first of all.
Oh, cool.
That's Dragon Ball. That's Dragon Ball Z.
And so Saruman and Sauron. So there's a moment. I'm trying not to say too much without giving stuff that you would see when you were to watch movies in the future away. Like if you're going to watch The Hobbit. Have you seen The Hobbit movies?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so then I'm not going to say too much. There is a moment where like Saruman is like not in awe of like the power of Sauron, because you got to think like Sauron as like a being is like a higher being than Saruman and Gandalf are. Like he is potentially more powerful. So like that's kind of like there's a moment where that's Saruman's like, I'm on board with whatever you're doing, you know.
Right.
And the Palantir definitely doesn't help. It definitely does help Sauron exude, you know, and like strengthen his hold on Saruman. But like Saruman came to that decision to assist Sauron of his own free will.
Okay. Because we definitely see later when Aragorn has it, and he's trying to like establish like I'm winning basically.
Yeah, shows him the Sword of Elendil.
Yeah, but then Sauron shows him the future.
Shows him Arwen.
Arwen, it looks like she's dead.
Yeah, he says something in like, you know, black speech, something along the lines of like I'm gonna kill her, you know, and you'll be alone, and then I'll kill you. And
I
like,
actually went
like
back and I put subtitles on it. It just said speaks in black language or something. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Speaks in black speech. Yeah. And I think they do that. There's like an official, like, this is how you speak. Like there's a whole, like, I don't want to say course, but there's like a whole dictionary and language of like Elvish for Middle Earth, right? Like Tolkien, the thing about Tolkien when he created this world is like he created this world, right? Like the languages that the elves speak, it's a full fleshed out language. Like you can learn Elvish as like a second language.
I can't remember her name, but the actress on Daredevil. Can't remember.
I know you're talking about.
Yeah,
I don't remember her name either.
She was on a podcast. She can actually speak Elven. Like she's learned. Tough. Yeah, it's crazy. She plays Dungeons and Dragons too. Cool, fun.
Deborah Wool.
Yes, thank you, Deborah Ann Wool. That's her name. I couldn't remember what her character's name was in the show. That's where I was.
Yeah.
But either way, I just thought that was crazy. Someone actually took the time to
learn. Page.
Page. That's it. All right.
Somebody actually took the time to like learn that.
Yeah. I mean, she just said she's always been a nerd at heart, and she just got into stuff like that. But
I'm trying to see if I can figure out who has. Like, I know there are some. So like, Sauron has one. I think in the books actually that Denethor has one in the White Tower of Minas Tirith. But I'm not 100% sure. It does say that Sauron can dominate a weaker user through the Palantir, which is like the kind of the experience that Pippin had when, he is holding it and he's like, I saw him. And like the wild thing that like a lot of people don't know about Sauron is like his like physical form, like his Valinor form, like he's beautiful, right? Like he is like a sight to behold, right? So like a lot of people, like when you put the ring on, you're in like the unseen world and you see like his like evil form, right? It's like this being of fire. But like, and he can like change his form. So like when he says like, I saw him, like, we can only assume that like he saw like a better form than like this being of fire, or else like, like Pippin would just be, his mind would be broken because he'd be so afraid. But he's like, he asked me my name, I didn't answer. And then he's like, he hurt me, so like that's Sauron exuding like control over Pippin while he's holding the stone, like able to physically hurt him while he's, miles away. Just speaks like how powerful Sauron is.
This just reminded me of something. I wanted to bring this up for Two Towers, but this gets to where like Gandalf takes him to Minas Tirith and all that. Shadowfax is the coolest fucking name for a horse ever.
100%.
That is so badass.
The Lord of all horses. Yep.
I love that name. I meant to remark on that, and I forgot to. So
100%.
Had to throw that in.
I wish I could just whistle and a horse would show up.
Oh yeah.
Pretty rad.
Demon, does your horse do that?
Nope. No, he looks at me like I'm stupid and goes right back to eating.
You need to figure that out then.
Not a chance at this point in life.
Get your shit together.
She is a passive.
I do think it's funny. So like we just talked about Legolas and Aragorn outside of the Golden Hall and all that. I do think it's funny. There's a moment in the one of the first scenes when they're talking to Saruman and they're talking about like the House of Rohan. He's like Theoden's talking to Grima. He's telling him to come down, and he's like, "You were once a man of Rohan," and Saruman's like, what more is Rohan than a thatched barn where brigands drink and their brats roll on the floors with the dogs, right? Just like dogging on Theoden, right? And then, you're like, no, that's not what Rohan is. And then when they go back to Rohan, they're like all drinking and like, there's like the scene, they're all like sleeping on the floor. And it's just like, I think he was a little right, like, whatever, we're having a party, and then like there's the drinking scene with Gimli and Legolas where they're, can I help you?
There's a cat.
Get out of here, dude. Where they're like drinking and Legolas wins which I would never expected, Legolas to win the drinking contest, but he did.
And I love that he's just unfazed.
Yeah, he's just like, I think it's beginning to affect me.
Yeah.
It's just it's a neat scene.
Dima has continuously been a fan of Gollum for whatever reason. So we'd be amiss to skip the actual beginning of this movie and get Demo's thoughts on it.
Where at?
The very beginning, we see a little history of Gollum.
Oh yeah.
What'd you think? What'd you think about all that?
I thought it was pretty cool because it showed like how he got the ring and like how quick it warped his mind. Like it was almost immediately to where he was so drawn to it that he just killed his.
Well, think about that too. Like, think about how powerful the ring is, right?
Yes.
Where like Smeagol, right? Because he's Smeagol at this point. He's not Gollum yet.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he hasn't even touched the ring.
Yeah.
Right. His brother Deagle has, and like he's only seen like a glimpse of it, and he's just like, "Give me that."
Yeah.
Like, it's my birthday. I want it. You know, give it to me. And like he kills his brother for it, and he never even held it until after he killed his brother.
Right.
So like just the power that holds on Smeagol, and then think about like how Frodo and Sam are, right? Yeah. Like how they've been able to like
resist
it, you know? Yeah. And like Smeagol just couldn't do that, and it warped his mind for 500 years. Smeagol held on to that ring.
Yeah, and I will say one thing about the character and movie, at least, is that the way he's visually presented is one thing I'm not a fan of. Like the character overall, I'm not a fan of, but like I think he looks a little silly. And
he does look. I'll agree with that. He does look a little silly. You know, he's supposed to be this like warped hobbit. You know, and I do agree. He's kind of goofy. There's actually a scene that was cut from the movie that we were supposed to see this like glimpse of like what would have happened if Frodo didn't destroy the ring and he kept it and kind of turned into like a golem-like creature.
Oh wow!
There's like a picture of Frodo in like makeup and whatnot where he kind of looks like Gollum a little bit. That you can look it up if you want to. But we just never that scene was just totally scrapped from the film. We never got that because I think Peter Jackson wanted to do it at one point and then it was like no, like the whole point is for. Why would we even entertain like the whole point is for Frodo to destroy the ring? Why would we even entertain the fact that he wouldn't? You know,
yeah, and
I don't even want to put that in there.
As cool as that would, like, I'll definitely look that up, but I think that would have taken away from the little heel turn he has near the end of the movie, which is one of my favorite parts of this movie.
Yeah.
But I did want to say the transition of him turning into Gollum, there is a phase right before he turns goofy that looks straight out of like a horror movie.
I think you're talking. Yeah, I imagine you're talking about. There's the scene of him when he's crawling into the mountain.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And he's like, you know, we forgot what the sun feels like on our skin. Like we forgot the taste of, you know, bread or the wind on our face. That's
if they would have stopped.
Like that,
yes. Yeah. Exactly. That's what I was gonna say. If they would have stayed with something similar to that, it would have been a whole other thing. Because he'd at least be terrifying looking.
Right, yeah.
But I just find him annoying.
I agree, 100%.
So, but
I understand why they need him. You know,
yeah, I get what he contributes.
They need the guide, and you know, but it's like, I don't know.
He's literally a reminder and like physical manifestation of this is what happens if you let this ring win. Like, so I appreciate him for that.
Which is like wild to me to see, like, you know, you see like the glimpses of like Frodo and his heel turn and everything, and you're like, dog, you've seen what this does.
Yeah.
It's like, why would you? And maybe he doesn't care about his looks. I don't know, but it is.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll wait to get into the Frodo. That's
later. That's later.
I got a lot to say about that.
So like. You know, we've talked about like Pippin going to Minas Tirith, and you know, we're in Minas Tirith, and then we see, you know, we get to like Osgiliath, right? Mm-hmm. And like the last movie, Two Towers, you know, we really show there's some Osgiliath scenes. There's a scene, the flashback where, you know, Boromir and Faramir retake Osgiliath. You can kind of see like Gondor, that's supposed to be like Gondor's military strength at its weakest, right? And like the streets are like crowded with, rangers and armored, Gondorian soldiers. And then we see some conflict in Osgiliath where, orcs have essentially taken the eastern side of the city. There's the river that splits it, and they're, lobbing rocks and shooting arrows and whatnot. And then when we go to Osgiliath now, it's all quiet. Orcs are still on the eastern side of the river. One of the rangers comes up and he's like, we've dispatched scouts to Caer Andros, which is like further. If you look at a map of Middle Earth, it's further north and a little bit to the west. Like the river curves upwards. It goes towards like Mirkwood and Fangorn and all that. And there's like a Gondorian stronghold there. Some nobility and whatnot in the books that actually come to Minas Tirith later in the books, but they aren't mentioned at all in the movie. And then we see like the boats coming across, right? Which in my opinion, when the orcs first attack Osgiliath, I'm like, it's one of the coolest, fighting sequences in the whole movie. There's that guy in the window, and the orc like shoots him with the bow, and he falls down, and they're like, they're not coming from the north, and they're like, he's like, getting everybody to the river, getting everybody armed up,
Is this where they come at nighttime?
This is where the orcs come at nighttime. Yep.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. It's one of my favorite scenes with
so like they stack up on those pillars, and what a lot of people don't realize, because it's not very well shown in the movies, but like when you look at the structure of these boats, there's like railing on the sides, and they've got kind of like that drawbridge like bit that goes down, and that's how they it's like landing crafts in World War I and World War II, right? And all that. So it's not shown very well, but there's no back on those. So it's like just nothing on the back. So how those boats function is the first ones go up, drop their drawbridge like structure, and then the one behind it will come up and drop. It's on that boat, and they create like a bridge to go across the river.
Badass.
And it's like not very well shown, because like when you look at specifically the scene where Faramir comes back and they take him up to the White Tower, and Denethor like looks over, and you see like the vastness of the armies of Mordor. You're like, how'd they get across? I'm like, as a kid, I'm like, how'd they get across the river in all those little boats, But like they like build their own bridge essentially, and there are a couple of like upper bridges in Osgiliath that they take down and like get across, because they have to have these bridges built to get their forces across. They need the bigger upper bridges to get like their siege towers across, because they have all of these, again, into like the industrialism of like the orc, they have all these siege weapons, and this is the first time that probably anyone's seen a siege tower before, when they, bring them up, and it takes like 4 trolls to like push them. Like they're massive war machines. But yeah, I always thought that was, so like that back that's there, that's not really there in the movies.
Where did it go? Sorry, first time I'm doing this, but yeah, this guy right here.
But like essentially, like creates like a bridge.
Where's it?
Which I thought was like pretty rad.
All right, there we go. So here we go. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Okay. So is this pretty accurate, Matt?
Yeah, it's pretty accurate.
Okay. That's badass. I did not notice that.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I can only find a toy model of the
Well, you're just super focused on like the orcs, right? And they let them like a couple get past, and they swing out, and they're like cutting them down and whatnot. And it's just such like it's such an intense scene, and you like feel the tension, because it's like the first time that orcs have crossed the river since like Boromir was like a captain of Gondor before he died, right?
Oh wow.
Okay, yeah, so, like, you can kind of tell there's no back.
Yeah.
This thing pop. There we go.
So like significant moment. So you're not really too focused on the boats. You're just focused on like, Faramir and them like cutting those orcs down. And it's a pretty rad scene. So like and then we get to like while this fighting is going on, Frodo and Sam are off, holding each other's hands while they, all that. And then like one of the things we, didn't talk about is the stairs, right? So they
Dude, I love the fucking stairs.
Brings them to the stairs, and like Frodo's like for some reason drawn to like the gates, right? Those like creatures, right? And he's like walking across the bridge, and Sam's like, "What are you doing?" He goes and he grabs him, and he pulls him back, and then that light shoots up. Yeah. So like that's Minas Morgul, City of the Dead. Used to be a city of men, and it used to be a magical city, and it's supposed to be like the stone that like the city's made out of would like glisten in the moon, and like that's why it was so bright. And then like Angmar and the Witch King, Witch King of Angmar took the city over and took it for his own stronghold. And that's why it looks the way that it does now. But like, can you imagine being an everyday citizen of Gondor? Like you're just living in Minas Tirith, like tension in the world is kind of high. There's like rumor of like evil in the east, you're forever in sight of Mordor. But like to see that beam shoot up and you're just like, whoa, what's happening? Like that'd be terrifying.
Oh yeah. See. Yeah. Well, I want to talk about all of that because visually it's scary. Like, and we've talked about Peter Jackson's really good at horror, which is cool. Because it really sells these parts of the film for me. But with that being said, I have to question, because it's not explained in the movie, why is there a staircase right there that just conveniently goes to Mordor?
It looks cool.
Like, is it like a maintenance service staircase, or like what? Because Gollum knows it's there, and I'm like, okay, sure, but why? Like, why is it there? And I was hoping maybe there was more context in the books about that, or a history with it.
Yeah, so let me pull it up.
While he's looking that up, I will say the thing I love about that whole sequence is when they're climbing the staircase, like you realize how high it is and everything. And Gollum even says, like, don't fall, it's a long drop or whatever. But when you have that on top of the fucking army just marching out, it's like it's literally like if you fall down there, you're fucked. Like if you survive the fall, you're still fucked.
Yeah.
So
it's terrifying.
So Minas Morgul used to be a city of men. It was called Minas Ithil, and like the Tower of the Moon, easternmost fortification of the Kingdom of Gondor, safeguarded the eastern borders of the realm. At the time, Osgiliath was the capital of Gondor, and it was made to like protect the capital from the forces of Mordor in the Third Age. And then the Cirith Ungol, that tower that's up in the mountains, was built to watch over Mordor to make sure that like forces didn't amass there and things like that. So like the origin of the stairs is never clear, but it's believed that the men of the West, so like Gondor, carved those stairs out to gain access to the mountains to build Cirith Ungol. Essentially, is like the understanding of why those stairs are there, but it's not like 100% fact. That's kind of one of those things like that's like the origin of this has like passed into legend, and like we don't know why You know, it's like their Stonehenge. You know, like we don't really know why it was built. We don't really know who built it, but like there's like guesses as to like why.
Well, I was gonna say I'm okay with what you said. I mean, I was okay with it to begin with because, like you just said, there's things on our own Earth that we're totally okay with.
We don't know,
not knowing why it's there, or how
Yeah.
it got there. So, but I was just curious because one thing I will credit the books, I guess, too, is the amount of detail in everything is phenomenal.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's so saturated you can't even put it all in the movies.
Right.
So that's just cool. I don't know. It's really cool that there's that much attention to detail with writing these stories and characters. So I figured there was probably something with the staircase.
Yeah, and it's also known that Minas Ithil, before it became Minas Morgul, housed a Palantir. It's like that kind of on that. And that's like how Sauron holds a couple of Palantirs. He has a couple of them. And like that's how he got his hand on one of them. And then it actually housed the first White Tree of Gondor. That when the city was captured, the tree was burned. But Isildur, and it also housed Isildur, so the Prince of Gondor and his family. And then he fled with like a seedling and planted it later at Minas Anor. But like we're getting into like book territory and things like that. Yeah. Yeah, like the details of like Peter Jackson's Middle Earth, and it's one of the things that I'm very appreciative of, how, like, you know, his style of filming and things like that. But like, you know, it's so amazing to see. What are we looking at? Middle Earth?
Yeah, so this is a more generalized because there's some in a lot more detail. But,
Absolutely.
I figured Dima might appreciate this because I honestly
have it pulled up.
Okay, I was constantly trying to like kind of get an idea of where things were, and they use direction a lot in dialogue, which are like, which could be the reason Legolas says like something stirs in the east. But
right,
either way, I could still okay, yeah, I was pretty close to understanding how things were laid out. I will say Gondor is really close to Mordor. Like I didn't really connect that dot
on the border of it, you know.
Yeah. But okay, yeah, I just wanted to kind of bring that up. It's interesting.
So where is the Shire and all this?
So do you see up there where it says Eriador and Arnor and all that? It's up there. It's up towards there.
I was wondering if it was up there. I just couldn't see it when I looked.
Far the fuck away from Mordor.
Yeah.
Yep.
Those hobbits have quite the journey.
Yeah, they did.
But,
I literally cannot wait for you guys to watch Rings of Power, because like up there where you see Lindon, you get to see like more of that in Rings of Power. You see more of that area, and then this like all this area of water, this coastline. There's like it's called like I can't remember what it's called, but there was like a great flood at some point in Middle Earth. And so like Middle Earth used to be much bigger. But like that flood like covered a good chunk of land. So there's like whole cities underneath water over there.
Wow.
Holy shit.
So, fun fact for you. Read the fucking books, nerds.
I plan on it. I really do.
They're so good. I would say that it's cool. I saw the movies first because you know I was 7 when they came out, you know. So like I like have that understanding, but then to be able to like read the books and like have an idea of like, you know, it's easier because then you just picture like the characters in the movies, you know, and that's how you picture them like in the books. But the books are so good. They're so good.
You know, that's something I've always been thankful for. Like Star Wars was the same for me. I watched the movies and I was like, I want to start reading the books about this stuff.
Yeah.
And I've read a few books. I've actually read a lot of comic books too, which is cool. There's a lot of Star Wars comic books. But a gripe a lot of people have that read books and then they go and watch the movie that comes out about them is they pictured something else in their head than what they're visually seeing. So now, if you do it the way that we've done it, you visually can have, okay, this is what this person was intended to look like. And then you can read the books and visualize that while you're reading it. So you don't create something else that you would think is cool. And then you're disappointed because what they put in the movie looks nothing like that. So that is a plus to watching movies first.
I agree 100%. I will say when you do read the books, make sure you read the Silmarillion. Make sure you read that in conjunction with when you read like the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit. Like I would also recommend reading that. It's like a collection of myths and stories that were like originally written by Tolkien, and then it was like edited and published like by his son. So like definitely, and that you'll get a greater understanding because like Lord of the Rings shows you like certain areas of Middle Earth at a certain time, and then like the Hobbit, you're a couple of years ahead of that, but then you see a lot of like Middle Earth and what Middle Earth used to look like in different areas of Middle Earth when you read the Silmarillion. So I definitely recommend that as well.
While we're on the books, I meant to ask you this, I think in the first episode where we did Fellowship of the Ring, but Boromir, in the 1978 animated movie, he's depicted as like a Viking almost.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get your thoughts on that versus the books, and if that's something they failed on in the movie, or it's just one of those.
I don't really know why he's depicted that way.
Okay, because I was gonna say it doesn't really make sense with like anything else going on with like his dad or.
No, I think like the big thing for like Boromir in the books.
Because Dima, I'm not kidding you, he literally has like the Viking helmet with the horns.
You said Boromir?
Yeah, in the animated movie.
So he's just like he's depicted like wearing like he's got his shield, like a heavy shield and sword. He's strong, and like they do mention like the horn of Gondor that he carries, but I don't think anywhere it's pictured that he's like a Viking. I'm not really sure why they did that. I'd have to dig into that a little more, but like to my recollection, he's not a Viking, like there's no, like why, I don't really understand.
Okay. I just wanted to kind of get that out of the way because it was kind of bothering me when I was watching the movie, just because I've already seen the live action version. I was like, is it really that different in the book?
Yeah, no, it's I don't know. I don't know why they chose that direction. I mean, like, and like that, like motion capture, like animated Lord of the Rings movies, they're so goofy.
They are
so goofy. Like Gollum, the Goblin King, like when you get in like the Hobbit and whatnot, there's like the Hobbit one, like Bard, like the archer and whatnot. It's so goofy. It's such a goofy animation style. And it's just, I don't know, man. I mean, I love them, but like not as much as I love, like the live action movies. I gotta go see what my dog's barking real quick.
Okay. Well, Deem, I don't know if you just heard what Matt said.
He said he's gonna go see what his dogs are barking at.
Well, before that.
Oh. Yeah, I was looking at fucking Boromir in the 78 film.
What do you think about that?
Fucking stupid.
It was really random. Like, it caught me off guard. And
it reminds me of that old animation of some Bible shit my mom used to show us. I forget what the movies are. She's got them all at her house, but like the animation style is very similar to that.
Yeah. Well, it's trippy because, like Matt said, that movie mixes like animation with like actually capturing real people and editing them over the animation.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, and the way they mix it, it's uncomfortable almost. Like it's an uncomfortable feeling, but it adds to the overall tone of the movie being like its own thing, and it kind of makes it more creepy. I don't know. It's interesting. It's very interesting. I definitely don't regret watching it. The only thing that was disappointing about it is they're trying to fit all three of these movies basically into one.
Oh, that's
it feels
hard.
like, and the ending is just like blah, it's just fumbled.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
Oh, all right. Now that Lord Matt the Monument Jones is back, you mentioned something about goofy animation, and I couldn't help but think about our cartoon.
Why am I a literal block? That's what I want to know.
Stupid fucking truck.
So that was the last episode of Eye of Stone Journey to Middle Earth.
Love that.
Until we return. Matt, to be fair, I'm a block too.
That's
I
fair.
am not.
That's fair.
I thought it would be really funny if we all started off as blocks and then Dima just gets mangled. Yeah, I get decapitated. So
yeah, that's very true.
At least you made it to the third film, so that's cool.
That's true. Yeah. So what do we last? So Gandalf and Pippin are in Minas Tirith, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've seen the beam of light. Faramir comes back. There's like that scene, and like literally, so like they get to Minas Tirith. They see the white tree. Pippin's like, it's the tree. It's like, yeah. Gandalf's like, yeah, it's the tree. Like it's the white tree, Gondor, right? And they get there, and Gandalf's like, hey man, Denethor is Boromir's dad. Don't say shit about Boromir dying, right?
Yeah.
And like I was always like, they're like standing in front of the door, right? And there's like 2 guards there, and I'm like, Gandalf, lower your fucking voice, man. Like those guards are gonna hear you, and they're just gonna tell Denethor anyway, like. And like they get in there, and Denethor's got like the horn already. So he like knows, and like just Pippin goes all, and Gandalf's like, say nothing of Aragorn, don't mention anything about Frodo or the ring, and he's like, actually it's best if you probably don't talk at all while we're in there. But like, and then Pippin immediately is like spills his fucking guts out and tells Denethor everything, and like Gandalf's like, get up, and then probably one of my only other gripes in this movie, and I understand like it's kind of why, and I don't really understand if it was done like intentionally to like make people hate the character, but like we get to the scene where Faramir is talking to Denethor about like you know, they lost the city of Ascleith. You know, they were outnumbered. You know, Denethor's like, I don't think we should abandon the outer defenses so easily. You know, like defenses long held intact by your brother. And that's when we get into the scene where he's like, you wish that our places had been exchanged and that I had died and Boromir had lived. And he's just like, yes, I wish that. And we're just like, damn, dude.
Yeah.
When Denethor is eating,
daddy issues.
I hate that scene
Yes.
so much.
Okay, yeah.
Like how he eats those cherry tomatoes. I hate it. I hate it.
I hated any time they showed him sitting down eating. Just in general. I think I made a note about that.
Filthy.
And I don't know, you know, because like some things, like I talk about all the time, like me and Jane are watching through the Harry Potter movies right now. And we just watched, I know I've made the same expression, Dima, but like we just watched Half-Blood Prince, I think it is, when Dolores Umbridge is first introduced, the pink lady.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I hate her. You know, I hate her. I hate that character. But I'm like, it also just shows like just how phenomenal those, you know, actors are and how they can like contribute to a role to make us hate a character so much.
Yeah.
You know, and I just akin it to like they're phenomenal actors.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like no other person could like make us hate this character so much, but like I fucking hate him, you know.
That's the thing is like most people fail to realize that like the actor's doing exactly. I mean, the actor, I forget his name, who played Joffrey in Game of Thrones. It's the same thing. He received so much hate and threats over his character because everybody fucking hated Joffrey. And
it's like that just means he did
the perfect job.
Yeah, that's all that means. Or like I think of, so I like watched when I was younger. This is like 2010, 2011, 2012-ish. I really liked the show Sons of Anarchy.
Oh,
and
one of my top three.
It's so good, such a phenomenal show. But there's one of the first, like, you know, because like they're not good guys, they're a biker gang, right? They're like anti-heroes, you know. But like Agent Stahl, like the FBI agent, there's like an interview that she does where she's like, she was like, I was going down an escalator just in a mall the other day. Like this is like past like her character has died. And she's like, somebody in the up escalator just like reached across and was like, fuck you. Like just as she was going down. It's just like, that's just like people hated that character. And it's like, I feel like nobody would hate them as much if they didn't have like the right person doing that role.
That's what's funny about like anything like this is people sometimes have a hard time separating fiction from reality.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's kind of scary and concerning. But you're like Joffrey's a great example of that because I'm pretty sure he had to like get rid of social media or something. Like that's how bad the hate got for
that doesn't surprise me.
And it's just like, dude, it's a freaking TV show.
Yeah.
And he did his job because I like how much I hated him. You know, like it made me appreciate him. So,
yeah. You appreciate the character. You appreciate the, you know, trials and tribulations.
Dude, either get in my lap or freaking rule. What are we doing?
Figure your life out, man.
Yeah, like if you want to get up in the screen, get up in it.
He just wants to be on. He just wants to be on camera.
He's just like halfway on my chair and halfway on the ground, and it's really
dude.
awkward.
Walter does that all the time.
Get up here, come on, come on.
I just don't let him down. I just don't let him down here when I'm on the podcast because he's so loud.
Can I put my headphones back on, please? Thank you. There we go.
So let's talk about one of my favorite sequences in the movie, like the lighting of the beacons.
Dude, that's literally my favorite sequence. Holy shit. I made a note of that.
So like seeing like, you know, and it like again it leans into like how important Pippin has become, you know, and like his journey going from the comedic relief character to like, you know, a significant piece of like this puzzle.
Yeah.
Where like Gandalf's like, hey, I need you to get up there and light that shit on fire.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, I've got to climb the side of this mountain. And a lot of people don't truly understand like how far he had to climb, but like it's pretty significant. And then he has to light this beacon on fire. He gets covered in oil, and then he has to climb back down.
Yeah, that was the part that got me. Like, it's not like he can just tiptoe around somebody. He's got to fucking right back down.
But like seeing that, and then you see the guards, and they're just like hanging out and eating and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I was like, the last time I watched the movie, I was like, dude, that'd be so us. Like I was like thinking about us, like at the
ball. Yeah, exactly.
Like that'd be us. Like we're just like hanging out, like this like inconsequential like post, right? Like they're far removed from everything else. There's like this little hut on the side of the mountain. They're just like hanging out. They're supposed to look out to see if any other beacons are lit or if they receive word to light their beacon. Like other than that, that's all they do.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, that would be us. Like that would be where we were.
They called in a dispatch, like the cliff check's okay, and they just start eating.
yeah. And they just sit down and they're just eating.
Yeah.
But like watching like all those beacons and like it truly shows you like how not far away everything is, because they're not super far away. Like Gandalf would have said, it's like 3 days to like ride straight through to Minas Tirith. But like to show you like the whatever established those beacons in the past that like knew that they were going to come in handy, like the methodical like thought process that went through like where each beacon is placed and can it see the other beacon, you know, and things like that. And just like watching that go from like point to point just was a phenomenally well made, you know, sequence. And even it being like 3 days ride and they're lighting these beacons, it took 2 days, you know, or almost 2 days for those beacons to be lit. Cause you know, it's the middle of the day, they're being lit through the night. And then it's the next day when Aragorn sees the last one being the beacon of, I can't remember the name of it, but like that specific beacon being lit, you know, he's just sitting there, he's like smoking his pipe or something. And then he has like, in my opinion, one of the goofiest running sequences in the entire series when he's like running up to, and you've gone from like Strider Aragorn, super badass, like Outlander Ranger. And then he like, you know, commands forces in like the Battle of Helm's Deep. To seeing that running sequence, you're just like, come on, man. And it's like, I know like the adrenaline's probably pumping. You're trying to get in there and let Theoden know what's going on. But you're just like, come on, dude. Like you couldn't like run just a little bit cooler, you know?
And it sucks because besides that, because that was my one nitpick about that whole thing. Like the music is beautiful. The cinematography is just fucking epic. And because they use real landscapes, you know?
Yeah.
And they add the fire, and it looks legit. But then it leads up to, let me get rid of this little golden problem I got in my lap. It leads up to freaking Aragorn doing the stupid running, but then when he goes to Theoden, like you can feel his excitement. Like
you can feel the tension. Like the beacons are lit. Gondor calls for aid. He's just like hangs on that, and
he's
then
just like hoping he'll want to get like. Yes.
Right.
Let's go.
Because for a moment there, you think about like there's that scene where, you know, before Gandalf leaves, like they figured out like, okay, Sauron's going to attack Minas Tirith. You know, like that's where his forces are gathering to assault. And Gandalf's like, when Rohan calls for aid, Gondor must be ready to like ride. And Theoden's like, tell me, Gandalf, why should we ride to the aid of those who did not come to ours? And you're like, dude, you're like, Aragorn literally told you in the Battle of Helm's Deep to send out riders, like Gondor would come, and you chose not to. So like, don't get nitpicky about whose aid you go to because you didn't ask for their help if they happen to ask for your help, right? That's not how this works, you know? It's not like I do you a favor, now you owe me a favor. That's not how that works. But like you think about that moment for a split second when there's that like little bit of silence, and Theoden's just like, and Rohan will answer, and you're just like, yeah.
Yeah, it got me pumped. I was just like, let's go.
I love Rohan. Like to this day,
same.
Gondor is cool, and like Minas Tirith is cool. like the fortress, the mountain
I was
city.
gonna say the architecture is epic.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
But Rohan is just so much cooler, in my opinion.
You know,
like Force Lords of the Redamark, it's just so cool.
For people like Jordan who are wanting this to be Game of Thrones, Rohan to me is like the closest to like a kingdom of the Seven Kingdoms. It just has that feel, the monarchy-esque. I don't know. I just I remember the first time I watched that movie, I was like, this seems like the place I'd want to be in this world.
Yep.
So I'm 100%. With you on that. And that's a big part of why the Two Towers is my favorite of the three.
And then seeing them Rohan amass their forces at Dunharrow, right? They're just up. They go up that zigzag peak, and they're up at the royalty camp, right? And he looks out over all the tents and everything, and he's just 6,000 spears, and you're like, damn, that's kind of a lot. He's just less than half of what I hoped for. I'm like, damn, dude, all right,
Once the war.
And it's just you just see Rohan is significantly smaller than, I think they might have a bigger territory than Gondor does. It's so spread out, but they're also the Horse Lords, right? Their settlements are so spread out, far in between. It's not close together like Gondor is, so they really do rely on their horses. But just rad, seeing them. And we see Aragorn leave, and so there's the scene when they're getting ready in Dunharrow, and he looks down the peak in the mountains, the pathway, and you see the ghost king essentially, and then we get into the Pass of the Dead and all that, which in my opinion, if you've never played, so I own, it's the Two Towers and the Return of the King video games on GameCube, on the Nintendo GameCube.
Oh gosh,
Pass of the Dead is one of the coolest video game levels I have ever played.
Huh. No, so, I've never played any Lord of the Rings video game.
They're so good. They're so good. They don't really hold up too well into the movies, because there's instances where you can play as Gandalf in the Pass of the Dead, and it's well, he wasn't there in the movies, but it's still cool. It doesn't hold up too well story wise, but it's still cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
But we get to this there's multiple prongs of this, right? We have Gondor defending Minas Tirith, defending Osgiliath. Orcs are marching in from the east, to the west, getting ready to assault Minas Tirith. And then he's there's legions of men of Haradrim and soldiers of Rune coming, on their Oliphants. And then he's also there's this force coming from the coast of, Corsairs of Umbar is what they are. I think he just calls them Corsairs.
Yeah, I think so.
So he's Elrond comes and he's here's the sword of Elendil. We've reforged it, which isn't not how that happens in the books, but whatever.
I was gonna say I questioned that,
because in the books, Aragorn always has the shards of Narsil, the sword of Elendil.
That's what I thought.
Always has those.
I remember you said that in the first movie.
The books, Aragorn is so sure of himself. He is so sure that he is going to be king of Gondor, right? He does not squander away from that. He does not hide from that. So whatever, doesn't make for a good, there was at the time that kind of not necessarily dissing royalty, but making Aragorn hesitant to take the crown, take the throne. Essentially, Peter Jackson, I think he's right. I think it is why Aragorn is so well liked, movie Aragorn, is because he didn't really want to become king, but he did for the betterment of his people and all that.
Yeah,
led to the popularity of the character from the movies, even though he's cool on his own, but that definitely helped. And then Elrond's just yeah, I need you to go get this army of the dead and use that
Which
help.
that was a really cool scene, the way they filmed that.
Yeah, agreed, 100%. It's not. It's like the scene is there in the theatrical release. It's just not as cool.
Is it just?
It's a little bit shorter. They don't have like the avalanche of all the skulls. Like that doesn't happen.
Because I didn't remember that, and it just felt a lot longer than what I remember.
Yeah,
it
was
felt like
a
very
longer.
like flash in the pan thing almost.
Yeah.
In the first movie, so. But man,
like there's the scene in Past of the Dead where they're like walking and you hear like the crunching and everyone's just like, do not look down. Yeah. And then like of course Gimli's like,
yeah.
And when he's like walking, it's like every crunch and then he just starts running. Like it's just it's like a little bit of comedic relief into like what is like a very like, kind of scary place that they're in right now, or like at the beginning before they go in, like Gimli's like, this is unheard of, like an elf will grow underground where a dwarf dare not. And he like is like at that point he's like, I'm not gonna go. But then he's like, I would never hear the end of it. So he just like goes.
Yeah, fuck it. Sending it. So before we get any further, Dima, do you have any gripes with the movie? I don't think you've said anything yet.
He hasn't.
Not really. I mean, there's some parts of the movie, like the other two, where because it was early 2000s and they were trying to put their money towards more important aspects of it, where the CGI was obviously very CGI. But other than that, like I thought it was a great, like I said earlier, I thought it was a great way to end this trilogy.
Fuck you. Sorry.
Whoa.
I got flipped off by my wife.
Oh. But
no, Abby just finally accepted my follow request on Instagram, so I'm not gonna flick her off. So.
Oh, she did?
Yeah.
She gets on Instagram like maybe once a month.
I'm on there every day.
Same. It's personally my favorite app.
Yeah, 100%. I've made such solid connections to that app that I like would never have made before. Like plug for my boys Raul and Doc from Forward Observations Group. I know you'll never watch this, but whatever. Like I never would have like connected with them, like plug for my boys at Crime Co. Like never would have connected with them without Instagram. So it's kind of rad.
Yeah, I mean that's how I found Norse Fitness, and one day I'm gonna get tatted up and get endorsed by them.
I want to get this tattooed so bad.
That's just it's like a simple but just really badass logo.
Like
rad.
It almost looks like a pirate flag, which is
literally just says Crime Company.
Yeah, that's all you need. Crazy. That's all you need. So Dima, you really have no gripes.
Not that I can think of, but it's also been 3 days.
That's fair.
You got to watch it again.
I do.
Yeah, go watch it right now.
Well, got it. 4 hours.
I guess another gripe of mine would be like you're watching Return of the King and after the Past of the Dead, right? They get out of that. There's just like an opening. It's like very clear opening in the side of the mountains, like going down to the river, right? Mm-hmm. Like, and it's like, man, I can't imagine how many people have explored this place. Like, it's just right there. But they're standing there on the bank of the river, and everyone's like, you can go no further. Like, you will not enter Gondor, right? And he's like, literally, he's gone from like in the scene before, and there's like a moment where I agree, like the CGI is just like not good. Is when the Ghost King like comes out of the rock wall.
Yeah,
like, we fight, and it's just like bad. It's bad, and it's bad CGI, right? It's not good.
To be fair, anytime CGI is done in daylight, it's really hard to make it look believable.
I agree. Yeah,
so I'll give them that. I will give them that.
That's it. That's all they get.
Yeah.
But he's like literally like on the verge of like tears. He's like down on the ground. He's like, And then like we get to like they're standing on the bank. He's so fucking confident. He's got his sword drawn, and he's just like, Legolas, fire a warning shot past the bosun's ear, right? And like Legolas like pulls his bow out, right? And like Gimli with the hilt of his axe like taps it, and it's like, hang on a second. It's like, you're telling me an archer elf, right? One of the best like shooters in like Middle Earth would not notice the little I think Legolas let Gimli do it and like just kept that trajectory on purpose.
That's how I took it.
Yeah.
I know they
want Gimli's like, oh, and he's like, that's right, we warned you. Like, prepare to be boarded,
Like, I know they want you to think like Gimli messed a shot up, but I'm with you. I'm like, there's no way.
There's no way that he wouldn't have noticed that.
Yeah. So I'm with you.
My thoughts.
I was gonna say in my notes, because I guess part of this movie I was just kind of like, and maybe that's part of my 3.5 review. But I stopped at when Frodo tells Sam to go home, which that's on the stairs. Obviously, Gollum throws the bread over the cliff, and then he starts this whole thing with where'd the bread go, and he points at Sam. He's like, he's got the crumbs on him, and so he causes this separation between Frodo and Sam, inevitably leading to Frodo being trapped by Dima's favorite scene in the movie.
Fuck you both for not giving me a heads up on that.
I purposefully didn't tell you.
I purposefully didn't tell my wife Janie when that was happening.
I knew. For anyone listening to this, it's a giant fucking spider.
Yeah,
and it's terrifying.
It's a giant spider, but it's like. So like the lore of like Shelob, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's so there's like Ungoliant, right? Which is like this like giant like spider chaos being, and Morgoth partners with Ungoliant to assault like the Undying Lands, like Valinor, right?
Okay.
So there are these two trees in Valinor that give off like light and song, and Ungoliant is such this like dark being that it like eats the light from like the trees and grows so big that like even Morgoth, so like who Sauron served, was like afraid of Ungoliant. And then like Ungoliant like gave birth to these like big spiders, one of them being Shelob. And then like they settled in Mirkwood for a while. Ungoliant, ran off, and they were like in Mirkwood for a while, Dol Guldur. Eventually like Shelob left and settled in her caves. But like Shelob is like a direct descendant of like ancient evil. So like she's a spider, but like she's a little bit different. She's got that like stinger on the end, that like obviously spiders don't have. So like it's like a spider mixed with like a little bit of a scorpion. But like all in all, fucking terrifying.
Yeah, and what's cool is like where her cave is located. It almost makes her feel like a guard dog for an entrance to Mordor.
Yeah,
I honestly believe that she's left there because like Sauron and his like orcs are very well aware that Shelob is there.
Oh yeah, because they come down the stairs and they're like, "Oh, it looks like Shelob got another one."
I can't remember the name of that orc, but that's like a named orc. Like he has a name, but like, and he's like, yeah, like she has her way with him. Like she like jabs him with her stinger. They go limp as a bone fish. Like that's how she likes to feed like fresh prey. So like they're very well aware of Shelob's presence, and I agree. Like I think she's left there because like. One, nobody wants to fuck with her, and two, it keeps people from like wandering into the Kirith Ungol Pass and like potentially like fucking shit up.
And the orc also confirmed for us and Sam that Frodo is still
alive. Yeah, it's because Sam's like, Samwise, you fool.
Yeah,
and it's like also like, Sam, my dog, don't kick yourself too hard. How could you have known? You've never experienced anything like this before in your life. Like, don't beat yourself up about it. I am so critical of Frodo, but I am so forgiving of Sam. Like, if they were to make the same mistakes, I'd be like, Frodo, you fucking daft idiot. And I'm like, Sam, it's okay. My precious, it's okay. Like, I'm so critical of Frodo.
I'm just gonna say it. I think that's what I was gonna get at with, because my notes stop at Frodo telling Sam to go home, and I think I was just really enjoying this part of the movie. But then I had a gripe, and I started making a note, and I got rid of it. And then my next note is about the Black Lieutenant at the Black Gate. So
we'll get there.
But what I was gonna say is my nitpick for Sam was gonna be, how is he just going John Wick in this tower, like fucking Sam?
Yeah. Dude.
A gardener. Like, what are we doing here? But then I'm like, you know what? I don't fucking care. It's Sam.
Let him have it.
And then I was like, wait, he does have the ring on him.
Mm-hmm.
The ring protects the person who beholds it. So I'm like,
yeah,
that might be something that's playing an effect as well.
Yeah, for sure.
But
so also, like, it's one of my kind of like moments where you're like, you know, like somebody's clearly not thinking straight, is like Frodo's like, go home, Sam. And it's like, big dog, how do you expect this dude to get home by himself?
Well, I was actually laughing because when they cut to Sam actually going home, like he's going down. Like, what the fuck, man?
Right. And it's like, how do you expect this dude to not only climb down, because I imagine climbing up is fucking difficult. I imagine climbing down, and you see it, like he kind of slips and falls a bit.
Yeah.
Or if that ledge was not there, like Sam would have died.
Oh,
but like, how do you expect him to just go home? It's like, just go home. He's just like, whatever, I'm gonna hang out with my boy Gollum. Like, see you later, Sam. You know?
Yeah.
And it's just like, that's not real. And in the books, they do not separate. Like, that scene's not in the books.
I do appreciate it though in the movie, because it makes it seem more possible that Frodo could get into this predicament.
Yeah.
And then it makes you really value Sam, because he literally, he goes John Wick against all these orcs and saves Frodo. So
right.
I appreciate it. I'm glad that it's in the movie, personally. Like I said, it was so entertaining. I wasn't even putting notes down. I was just fucking enjoying the movie.
Just watching it.
Yeah. I was totally into it. And it wasn't predictable, because I guess that's one thing it wasn't predictable. I would never think Sam is going to go clear house against a bunch of fucking orcs in Mordor. Yeah.
And like, so like the orcs in Mordor, right? And this is something that we haven't really touched on before. So fun fact, the guy who played Lurtz is the same actor who plays the Witch King. Then I think it's like Grogamoth, I think is his name, but like the orc commander, like with the fucked up arm, like same actor.
Okay.
So like
I've seen a video of him like showing off the costume or whatever for Lurtz. I was telling Dima about that.
Yeah.
Because Dima thought that was all CGI. I'm like, no, that's practical. Like
that's 100%.
Yeah.
That's one thing they were very, very good at doing for Lord of the Rings, is like the practical makeup and everything. Like actually turning these guys into orcs and whatnot.
Yeah.
But like, so like orcs, right? Like you see like orcs when so in the Fellowship of the Ring, when they first show up to Orthanc and like Isengard, right? Like they're short, you know, they're not muscly, they're not, you know, they don't really look like they look like they'd be more like scavengers and like small skirmishes, you know, like type fighters. They don't look like that you could really amass a bunch of them for a war. But then you like get to like the orcs who are sieging Minas Tirith, and they're almost like Uruk-hai, how big they are, how strong they are, how armored they are. And so like there is a difference between, and it gets into like, when you get into like the mythology and the lore of like Lord of the Rings, there are like different kinds of orcs. And like, so the orcs that are on the plain of Gorgoroth, and then you can get into like the orcs who are from like Angmar, like the kingdom of Angmar, like up north. Like they're like big, you know, they're big orcs, they're fighters, you know, like, and like the orcs of like Angmar, they would like directly integrate, like cut their flesh and integrate armor into their bodies. So they were always armored, like stuff like that.
That's crazy.
So like you see these like orcs getting ready to assault Minas Tirith, and you're just like, damn man, these aren't, you know, regular orcs, you know.
I kind of look at Mordor as like any civilization. Like you got the residents who just live there, and then you got the guys going out to war, and they're going to be fucking units. Like it's just it's like real life. Like you're not going to put me and an army ranger next to each other and be like, oh yeah, they come from the same cloth.
Like,
yeah, like no, I'm a joke. So. But yeah, I definitely noticed when he was in that tower that these orcs weren't on par with the others that we've seen in combat.
Right, and some of them were. Like you see the guy, so like the two orcs, there's like the smaller, skinnier one when they're up in Cirith Ungol, and then there's the bigger guy. They're going through Frodo's stuff, and the smaller orc pulls out the Mithril shirt.
Oh yeah.
And, like the bigger orc was like, "That's mine," He's like gonna like, and they like fight over it, right? And like that's how like most of the forces in Cirith Ungol are like destroyed is because they kill each other. He like kicks that dude down. He's just like, the scum tried to knife me, kill him. And they just all start fighting. One of the orcs gets like beaten over the head with like a big like turkey leg.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like stuff like that. It's just like that's how like so like Sam is like because the orcs that are left are like those bigger, almost Uruk-hai like orcs, and he like still manages to like cut like 3 or 4 of them down.
Yeah.
So like it's pretty significant moment for Sam, like really pulling out all the stops to get Frodo back.
I love the scene where he's coming up the stairs and they see the shadow of Sam.
Yeah, he's just
and
like,
they're like,
and they're just like, whoa.
He comes around the corner like, oh yeah.
And they were just like, oh, whatever, because you got to think like a Hobbit man, dude. They're like
tiny.
They're like 2 feet tall.
Yeah.
Right. They're small. Like that's like coming up to like my knee/thigh. Like if I'm an orc, like you just see that and you're just like, whatever, like I'm gonna go deal with this real quick, and then he just manages to like cut them down. Right. It's badass. Badass moment for Sam, and he deserves it. Like Sam deserves everything. 10 out of 10, best character of the trilogy.
Yeah. God damn Sam. I could use a Sam series.
Yeah.
I don't even know what it would entail. I just like the character.
I don't either. He just deserves the absolute best.
He's like Aragorn is my all around favorite character, but Sam is like probably right under him.
Yeah.
And then Theoden is my favorite king. We don't really get to see Aragorn as a king, so
R.I.P.
I gotta say that Theoden as an established king is my favorite king.
Yeah,
he went through some shit, man, especially in Two Towers.
Especially in Return of the King, right? So like we get to like,
but he's not even himself in Two Towers. He's literally got Saruman's arm up his ass.
Yeah. So like in Return of the King, right? Like we get to like, the orcs are assaulting Minas Tirith. The siege towers are coming up. And again, it just shows like, I kind of harp on it in every movie, but like the industrial like war machine is like the orcs, right? So like again, like no one has ever seen siege towers before. They don't know how to combat against them, So like there's that scene when the siege towers are getting close to the walls and you have all the archers and they're just shooting at the armor plating on the siege tower. And it's like, dude, what are you expecting that to do? But then it's like they also like they don't know. They don't know what that is, So like, and Gandalf's like, not at the towers, like aim at the trolls, like kill the trolls, like that'll like potentially stop like the siege towers, right? And then the siege towers come, they drop their doors, like orcs get onto the walls, and there's that scene, and this is where like, so like, I wouldn't say that like, so like we've seen like the transition of the importance and the seriousness of Merry and Pippin. We've seen the start of that, but I don't think we've truly seen it until this moment when the orcs breach the walls of Minas Tirith and Gandalf like go into business and an orc gets up behind him and Pippin gets him and like Gandalf turns around and he's there and like, Gandalf is just like guard of the citadel indeed. Like you really don't see like that transition and that change until that moment.
Yeah.
Well, you even saw it from Gandalf's point of view.
Right.
Like, he just got done saying like you don't belong here. You need to go.
Like you don't belong here. Like like go back up and hide. And then like he wouldn't have like that orc would have got Gandalf if like he wasn't if like Pippin wasn't there. Right.
Yeah.
And there's like the scene of they bring up that like little battering ram and they're like trying to like get down the gate, and like it like cuts away for a minute and then cuts back, and you just see like the bodies piling up to where like they're literally, it's like an uphill, like they're uphill trying to like batter the gate down, you know? And they're just like, he's just like, break the gate down, and they're just like, nothing can breach it. And he's like, Gron will breach it.
Yeah.
And Grong is so like it's named that, and it's like not clearly established in the movie because we haven't seen anything for like Morgoth or anything like that in the movie. But like Grong is the name of like Morgoth's mace that he uses when like he exudes dominance over Middle Earth, like before Morgoth was defeated and Sauron took power. Like that's why Grong is named Grong. Fun fact for you.
And for the uninitiated, Morgoth is Sauron's master, right?
Yes.
Okay, just to clear that up. So, yeah, that was the weapon of the ultimate bad guy.
Yep, pretty much.
That's cool. Yeah, I actually looked that up because I was wondering why they were calling it that. And then they show it, and it's very well put together, and it looks like it's very important, and it probably means something other than just ramming things. So,
it's like a significant moment, and again, like the industrial like war machine that is the orc, like to see something like that put together, and like its sole purpose is to batter down gates of like cities, right?
Yeah,
like that's all it's for, you know. So like no one's ever seen anything like that before. One second, gentlemen.
Oh, no, you're fine. So Dima.
Yes.
What do you think about the overall combat in this movie?
I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you know, the battle for Helm's Deep and the two towers,
yes,
was definitely a cool climax for that. Like I said, that movie, in my opinion, could just be a movie in itself.
Yeah,
and it gives me everything I need. But this movie definitely delivers on, I think, more well thought out war combat.
Yeah.
It's not just
the battles in this one are honestly better than the ones at Two Towers.
Well, yeah, because Two Towers, it was like they had like specific amount of time to show this battle for Helm's Deep, and it was like a lot of cuts of just chaos.
Yes.
Where this, it's like, okay, we're going to cut to this, and this full sequence plays out. We're going to cut to this, and it actually feels like they worked on, excluding Gandalf, choreography. Gandalf essentially just spins.
He does.
He's just like lifting up his arms with a sword and his stick, and he's just fucking spinning in circles, and somehow he's a unit.
Every time it like switched from here to here to here with him, I was like, yeah, he's about to get stabbed. I didn't expect him to live through this.
We're gonna be having to wrap this up soon. All right. Well, hopefully Matt can come back in a minute. We're gonna have to jump to the Black Gate because I want to talk about the Black Gate, and then I want to talk about Frodo and Sam completing their journey. Yes. And I think splitting it up because it kind of goes back and forth, but I want to talk about each one in their own right. So I want Matt back. Matt, the Black Gate, for one, it's cool to see it again. Mm-hmm. It is just magnificent to look at, even though it's not real. Like,
right,
you can tell in a movie where the budget for CGI goes.
Yeah.
And that is definitely one of the things. Like, that and the spider definitely consumed a lot of the budget in this movie. But you know what I mean? Like, the spider looked almost too real.
Yes.
So the Black Gate, it was nice to see it again in all of its glory. And obviously you've got basically the good guys versus bad guys. Like, it's the typical cliche, good versus evil. But what I like is Aragorn feels like a king.
He does.
Like, he feels like he is really just assuming that role.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
I mean, because at this point, Theoden has passed, and
jumped off the cliff on fire.
No, that was not Theoden. That was Boromir's
Oh, you're
dad.
right. Theoden died in the one battle
And
from the injuries.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, he passed away. And he was old, so. But no, it kind of feels like there's that room for Aragorn to kind of assume the position, and he does it very well. I really wanted Matt to be here for this, but I have a gripe that I wanted to get out of the way before we talk about this scene and all of its beauty.
Okay.
So Aragorn gives a speech, right? And it's awesome. How the fuck did what would you say? How many people are there? Like maybe 1,000,
roughly. Yeah.
It's a lot of people, but it's nothing compared to Mordor's army.
No, I mean, I'd probably say they have like 2.
So the way they film it, and I counted, the horse goes back and forth, and he talks to about, it's like, I think 7 people that like he goes back and forth while he's yelling.
Yeah.
It's like the Mel Gibson Braveheart thing. Like, how the fuck did all these people just hear what you just said? Like, you could be exclaiming it as loud as you want, but Aragorn's not really even yelling.
You could have a bullhorn, and the people in the back would still be like, "What the fuck is he saying?"
Oh yeah, well, he's talking.
Yeah.
And I'll bring Matt back in when he's back, but he's talking, and I literally was just like, I mean, everyone else is just like, what's he fucking saying? Like, I picture the people in the front row are like, for the kingdom, for glory, and then people in the back are hearing like,
yeah,
like, I don't know, but I'm just ready to kill some friggin' orcs, like that.
Literally.
Yeah, I don't know. So I had an issue with that. I'm like,
I'll agree with that.
Like, there's not some way we can amplify your voice here, and
see, I almost took that. I don't know. Like, yeah, it was just bad. I mean, I'm just trying to justify something bad. There's no reason to, because I felt like he was just talking directly to like fucking.
It's not a thing that like Matt could say, oh, well, in the book. Well, like, no, it's literally like the way it was executed in the movie just doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
If he had rode around the entire army, then okay, cool. So when you're passing people, they can hear you, and the people on the other side can't. But whatever. But it's just like he's just kind of going back and forth between 7 people, and if you're in the back, I don't fucking care if you hear me anyway.
Right.
So. Now, with that out of the way,
Sauron's
dude, this fucking creature that comes out of the Black Gate.
Which one?
The Black Lieutenant.
Sauron?
No, sir. Hold up.
The Black creature.
Just making sure Matt wasn't messaging me. Let's see if he's back yet. No, Matt. Okay. No, it's literally called the Black Lieutenant. Here, give me a second. I'll show you what I'm talking about, because it's terrifying, and I want people who are watching who don't know what I'm talking about to also be aware. It literally looks like something that would be in Silent Hill, the video game, or something. I mean, it's like a horror character through and through. Okay, here we go. Let me get this image up. Dude, you've got to be kidding me. Team up. I have to put Lord of the Rings, but this is just funny. All right. I type Black Lieutenant on Google, right?
It's probably like, not Lord of the Rings.
I'm a dumbass. All right. Because at first I was like, what the fuck is this? And I'm like, oh, yeah. I'm an idiot sometimes.
Lothar.
All right, this.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Okay, well, that is literally the name of the character, is the Black Lieutenant.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Also referenced as the Mouth of Sauron.
That's why I said what I said, because like it's showing Mouth of Sauron.
Oh, we got Matt back. There we go.
Yeah. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, sorry. I have to step away again for a second. I didn't realize what time it was. I know it's just because we got started late, but I promised my pregnant wife I would make her something to eat. So Fun fact: the mouth of Sauron was a black Numenorian, so like evil men that turned away from like Numenor and the Dunedain to like serve Sauron. So there's a pretty good chance that him and Aragorn knew each other at one point in time. Fun fact.
He throws that at us and just fucks off. Like,
okay, that's actually that adds a lot
really
more
cool.
depth to the conversation that they have.
Tell me, hold on.
What?
Hold on.
It sucks if Matt would just sit down for 10 more minutes, we could wrap this up.
Yeah.
Because I don't have that much more I really wanted to touch on. I wanted to highlight some things about the Black Wall scene, and because I do have another gripe about it, that it's just it's like it's subjective. Oh, you're back. All right.
Sorry. So yeah, I'm starting to boil water, so I got a couple minutes.
I was gonna say, if you just give me a couple minutes, there's just a few things I want because I got to do dinner too.
Run it.
So the Black Gate, we've already established that they have a smaller army than Mordor.
Significantly.
Aragorn gives a speech. I don't know how anyone past 3 rows back could even hear what the fuck he said.
And
it doesn't matter because he just feels like he is becoming the king. Like
stepping into that leader role. Yeah.
So that's what we've established so far. And then the Black Gate, I have a gripe, and then the rest of it is just fucking epic. The fucking Black Gate opens, and it literally looks like Welcome to Mordor, the theme park. Like, you've got Sauron dead center with his eye, and the orcs all just coming out fucking like, I don't know. It's like, okay. That's literally what Mordor looks like. Like, you just open the gate, it's all dead center, like, right there, ready to go. Like,
pretty much, yeah. Like, if you look at a map of, like, Mordor, so like there's the Black Gate, like, you know, like Barad-dûr, like Sauron's stronghold, and then like Mount Doom, and then like the plains of Gorgoroth. It's like massive, right? Like, it's a big territory, but like there's like no focus on it whatsoever. There's like orc settlements and whatnot, but like there's no focus on that whatsoever. Like, Mordor is big.
Oh shit!
But like the strongholds of like Mordor is relatively close together.
Okay, Matt. Yeah, you're correct. I stand corrected. Let me just bring this up really quick. It's literally a straight fucking line. look at this.
Yeah.
So like here's gate. Here's this fucking path. Like, it's literally a circle with a path down the center.
Yep.
Love that.
Okay, so never mind. I guess it literally. I just thought they made it look like that for the shot, and that was my gripe.
Oh no, for sure, no.
Like, the Black Gate opens, like, here's Sauron and everything that's coming with Mordor right here.
Essentially, right? Yeah.
But that's literally how Mordor was set up. So okay,
that's awesome.
But outside of that whole fucking sequence, because they look like they are outnumbered, and
grossly outnumbered.
And like Gimli and everyone look nervous and shit, but Aragorn's just like fucking confident, which I love.
Well, I mean, there's like a moment where it looks like he kind of falters for a second. He's like got his sword up and he brings his sword down, and you can like Sauron's like speaking to him essentially, like trying to like dominate his mind, and he just turns around. He's just like, for Frodo, and then he charges. You know,
that gave me chills. That gave me chills.
It leads to my second to last gripe of the movie. When the forces of good, you know, charge into the forces of evil. And this generally happens when like you have people who don't know what the fuck they're doing when it comes to fighting, is like your front line and your front line will essentially just smash together. And then you've got a bunch of bad guys and a bunch of good guys. Just, you know, they don't like but when you fight, you know, especially in wartime, like if you learn about like how conflicts are fought and how wars are fought, you want to like, when you run in, you want to like run deep in, right? And you want to like kind of mix, so that way most of your forces are engaging most of their forces, is how that's supposed to work.
Yeah. Have you seen The King on Netflix?
Yes, I have.
Timothy Chalamet,
yeah,
Robert Pattinson. There's a good visual of that, and if it's not done right, because it's like the knights and all the armored warriors come together, and it's like everything just stops, and they can't even move their arms and shit. Like, they just are stuck together.
Yep.
and then everyone behind him's coming in and just like compacting them even more.
Exactly.
And it's just a muddy chaos. Like there's just no combat even
that is
happening.
not how you fight war. But,
yeah, they're in there like, I'm serving, and it's like, cool.
Yeah.
like,
and then you get like the Eagles come in, and because like, you see the Nazgul start to come out, and they're like, how the fuck are we going to fight against that? The Eagles.
Are there really the exact same amount of Eagles as a Nazgul on the surface?
No, there are more Eagles than there are Nazgul.
Okay, because in the scene,
it seems like there's only enough for
like an eagle per Nazgul, and I'm just like, okay.
There's more Eagles.
Okay,
than per Nazgul for sure.
All right.
You just only see that many.
And then it feels like all hope's lost because they're outnumbered.
And then the fucking, Mount Doom explodes. Frodo has his little moment where he's like, I'm keeping the ring, like, I'm not going to destroy it, has his, moment.
We have Gollum return because we thought he was out of the picture. And then,
he falls outside of Shelob's lair, and then he comes back, and Sam pulls out Sting and cuts Gollum at the waist. Right, outside the entrance to Mount Doom, and you're like, well, that's got to be it. I can't really come back from getting cut at the waist. But then he comes back, finds Frodo with the ring on, bites his fucking finger off.
That was crazy.
And gets the ring, and then ends up falling into the fucking lava, and he's never more happier on that descent down than he. Because he has the ring, and in his last moments, he, reaches up and he tries to save, he's falling into this lava, and he, in his last moments, tries to save the ring, essentially. Again, just the power that this thing has over him, that, he'll sacrifice his own life to, save it.
There's a part of me, and I hate to gloss over this, but we kind of have to.
Yeah.
The Frodo momentary heel turn where he puts the ring on, and Sam's just like, no, Frodo, dude.
Yeah.
He this is one point where I will say, what's his name? Shiloh Wood, the actor.
Elijah Wood.
Thank you, Elijah Wood. He actually nailed. He did the job. He looks like he goes from being helpless and almost dead to evil. Just immediately I'm all about this now.
Yeah, this is what we're doing.
Disney does what if of Marvel movies, and a lot of people want them to do that with Star Wars.
I want a what if of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, he fucking just goes evil. He works with Sauron.
Well, there's a moment where he gets stabbed by the Morgul blade in the Fellowship of the Ring, and Arwen's Arwen is he's becoming a wraith. I would love a what if episode where there's just a little 2-foot tall ring wraith.
That'd be fucking hilarious.
That'd be fucking hilarious. But yeah, so my last thing that I'm gonna say before I have to go, because I'm sure my water is boiling, is when they destroy the ring, Mount Doom erupts, eagles, save them. There's a little bit because you see 3 eagles, right? Gandalf's on the one that picks Frodo up. The one picks up Sam, and then there's another eagle. So that third eagle was for Gollum. Fun fact, they were going to save Gollum. Gandalf knew that Gollum was with them, and he brought a third eagle to save Smeagol. And but he's dead. Fun little fact for you, if you never noticed that before.
I was wondering why there were 3. I was wondering.
A little morbid. But then, so they get to Rivendell, right? They get to Rivendell, and everybody's coming in, and he recognizes everyone and says them by name, except for Legolas. Legolas is the only one whose name he doesn't say. So there's a running conspiracy theory that Frodo does not remember who Legolas is.
Oh.
And you have to watch it. You have to watch the scene again.
Okay.
But he literally Aragorn, Gimli, he says everyone's names except for Legolas.
Because I felt and maybe it was just Legolas, but I thought there were a couple where he's just looking happy and talking, but we don't hear the dialogue. You hear the
But
music.
he very clearly does not say anything.
Yeah. So okay. Wow.
You have to watch that.
My last gripe. It's really quick. Sam is carrying Frodo, right?
Mm-hmm.
He can't move. He's like pretty much dead. But then after Gollum attacks him, all of a sudden
Frodo runs off.
Frodo's able to run up the fucking mountain.
Yeah.
I like that's kind of stupid.
I agree.
I don't know. But yeah. Anyways, well, Matt, we'll let you go.
All right, guys.
Everyone will see Matt return. We'll be doing Rings of Power, The Hobbit, all that fun stuff. And Sicario.
Dude.
Yeah. We talked about doing that. We talked about doing that like a year ago. We're definitely
Sicario is what Sicario to men is what Barbie is for women.
I like that. All
right, guys.
All right, man. Thanks for popping in. We'll see you.
See you guys.
Tell me the Black Lieutenant doesn't look like Art the Clown when he's up there smiling at the Black Gate.
Well, the big pointy teeth, that's a thing. That can really make somebody look terrifying.
Yeah.
And especially when that's all you see. It's just the mouth. It's like, what the fuck? Well, everyone, we're sorry to kind of gloss. It's hard to talk about these movies in an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And we're at an hour and 50 minutes. So we've gone 20 minutes over, which we're 10 minutes from our maximum cap of 2 hours, which is where I will just like shut my MacBook and say, fuck you. No, but seriously, it's just hard, man. Like Matt's expressed this in every episode. These books literally could have 3 movies per book.
Yeah.
And they're trying to just do a movie per book.
Right.
And I believe that because the amount of information Matt can give us from the books, it's just like you start saying things and I'm like, the movies have never even referenced this.
Yeah.
And there's characters and side quests in the books that they just completely cut out just to be able to make the movie fit in a certain amount of time. And they rework the story. And so, yeah, it's crazy. But either way, it's been really fun watching these movies.
Yeah.
You guys will probably notice that Dima's been really quiet. It's because he's been new to these movies. And he's in that honeymoon stage of watching them for the first time and just really enjoying them. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know shit of what I saw.
And I think I would be the same way if I just watched these for the first time. Thankfully, I've had prior watching history with these. I actually did the challenge where you watch the Lord of the Rings, the 3 movies, the extended cuts, and the Hobbit movies in the same day.
That's crazy. That's a long ass day.
I did it with a couple of buddies of mine, and it was fucking insane. We had a lot of energy drinks, and we had a lot of pizza.
Sounds about right. What is it, 20 some hours?
I can't remember I used to know the exact amount of hours, but it takes up an entire day.
Yeah. Because these movies are about 12 hours.
Yeah.
Just these 3.
And The Hobbit, which we'll get into those movies, but the Hobbit book, because I actually physically have the book, it's relatively smaller than the Lord of the Rings books, but they somehow made it into 3 long movies. And I think that's why I don't like The Hobbit as much as Lord of the Rings, just because it feels like parts are drawn out a little bit.
Gotcha.
And I might change my perspective on that now when I watch, because it's been, years since I've watched that trilogy, but I just remember I was thinking that the last time I watched them.
Yeah.
Especially back to back with Lord of the Rings. Like Lord of the Rings is just much better in my opinion.
Okay.
But either way, I'm excited for you to check those out and see why Jordan was mad that he thought he was watching a Disney movie. Yeah. I'll tell you right now, I started watching The Hobbit again last night just to start tackling those.
Yeah.
And it wasn't maybe 10 minutes in. And there's a bunch of freaking dwarves doing like a singing jig inside Bobo Baggins' Hobbit hole, like his home. And he is us in this situation. Like, what are we doing? Like, what? It's funny. It's funny. But I know Jordan was like sitting there tapping his foot because it is catchy. It is very catchy.
He'll never admit it.
No, he won't. So guys, next week for franchise Hump Day, Dimitri and I are going to be covering Matt Reeves' The Batman. And then we'll be giving our thoughts on the Penguin series, which is coming here in a couple of weeks, and we're very excited for it.
Yes.
So be looking forward to that. Our first episode ever for the podcast was on the Batman, and then we had to remove it, unfortunately, because of who it featured. Yes, sir.
The Penguin released today.
Oh, that's today? Why did I think that was next week?
No. Today, I think. Today's the 19th. Yeah, today.
Well, I can confirm I won't be watching it until at least this weekend.
Yes, same.
Maybe next week, because I got a really busy weekend. So to me, it's going to feel like it's coming out next week. But okay, it came out today.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It was the 19th. You're right. Yeah. Totally forgot about that. Okay, well, there we go. But either way, we're going to be covering the Batman, and then maybe we'll be talking about the Penguin, depending on if we've watched it or not.
I can guarantee I will have it watched next Monday.
Wednesday.
By next Monday.
Okay.
The Penguin.
Yeah.
And
all right.
the movie will be seen for a fifth time.
But, Matt Reeves' The Batman is going to eventually be a trilogy. He's confirmed several times. He reconfirmed it a few weeks ago, which is nice to hear because we've been worried about the state of the Matt Reeves Batverse. So eventually it will be a trilogy, but we're still going to talk about this first movie and build up some hype for the second one. So
according to Reeves, is going to dig deep into the epic story about deeper corruption and goes into places he couldn't even anticipate in the first one.
Which is crazy because the corruption was already insane in the first one. So, very excited for
whatever that's supposed to mean.
And he did confirm the second Batman picks up at the end of the Penguin series, which the Penguin series gets right up until around December into New Year's, which means we get a wintry, snowy Matt Reeves Gotham. And I can't wait.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for it.
I don't care if Mr. Freeze is involved, but just having that, like in Batman Returns, obviously that's what's so cool is how it's a snowy Gotham.
Yeah.
So, I'm just excited to see a snowy Gotham again. It's been a while.
It has.
And that's my favorite kind of Gotham. So, anyways, we'll see you guys next Wednesday for Franchise Hump Day, where we will cover Matt Reeves' The Batman. And until then, check out episode coming this Saturday where I'm going to talk about a lot of stuff that's been going on in movies and TV and give my 2 cents on some controversial issues. So,
hells yeah.
Yeah. So tune in for Saturday, and we'll see you guys next Wednesday. Peace. And it's going to awkwardly take 20 seconds to end the stream.